Hi, today we are going to go over adjectives that compare, lesson 3.8 in your Yellow Voyages textbook. So adjectives are words that describe nouns. So let's get our text box up. Right, we have adjectives and they are descriptive words for nouns. And remember that a noun is a person, place, thing, or idea. And these can be common or proper. Singular or plural. So when you have a sentence such as, Mrs. Fisher teaches us science at our amazing school. You have nouns such as, let's find our pen. Here we go, the marker. So you have Mrs. Fisher is a noun. She's a proper person. You have science, the name, the type of subject, and you have school. But then we have words that describe our nouns, and you look in front of those nouns for those descriptive adjectives. Well, there's nothing in front of Mrs. Fisher, so there's no adjective describing her. There's nothing in front of science except teaches and us. Teaches is a verb, so we're going to make our verb with a blue line. Us is a pronoun, and then at our amazing school. So at is a article, are is also a word that would help us with our pronouns describing who is talking in this particular circumstance. And then we'll use red for our adjectives. Amazing. Amazing describes the word school. Now that's a really simple example. What if we used something like this? Our classroom is the biggest one on the floor. Well, let's again identify our nouns and verbs and adjectives. We have classroom is a noun. We have floor as a noun. Now the word one is usually an adjective, right? Describing something. One piece of pizza, two popcorn buckets. But here we're referring to the biggest one, referring to classroom. So here one would also be acting as a noun. And then we have verbs. Let's see. Is there a verb? Is our verb. And then we have our adjectives. Our is like a preposition referring to who's talking, so there's nothing describing classroom there. Is and the are also, well, is a verb, the is an article. And then we have biggest one on the floor. Biggest here would be our adjective describing the one, which really is referencing classroom. So sometimes you're going to have types of adjectives which we call positive, which is like the normal normal adjective. You also have comparative, which just compares two items to each other. And then you have superlative, which compares one item to everything else of that item. So here, the biggest one, biggest is our superlative adjective comparing this classroom to all of the other classrooms on that particular floor. So usually the rule of thumb is that when you have a comparative adjective, you add er to the end. For example, bigger. And then superlative usually is est at the end. For example, biggest. And then, of course, our positive, our regular, normal, in this example, would have been the word big. So we have large, comparative would be larger, superlative would be largest. And the same goes for things that are maybe smaller or less exciting, more of a negative type of adjective. Small, smaller, smallest. It gets a little tricky when you are talking more about adverbs, like quickly, swiftly, but for the most part, you have ER for comparative and EST for superlative. So now that you've done this little review here of a lesson, I'd like you to look at pages 68 and 69 in your Voyages textbook and work on those activities, exercises 1, 2, and 3, identifying and choosing between the comparative adjective forms and the superlative adjective forms, and turning maybe those positive adjectives into both comparative and superlative forms. When you're done, make sure to turn it in on Google Classroom. Thanks. See you later. Bye.